The film opens the Hot Dogs Festival in Toronto tonight. But first, Camille 2000, Judith Stein, and the film's director, Toronto director Rama Rau, join me in Studio Q. Hello, and nice to have you guys here.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Hi.
Rama, I'm going to start with you because, interestingly, I mean, this film is not like a lot of the other documentary work that you've done. Why burlesque? What drew you to that subject?
I've always loved show business, and vaudeville is something that I've been obsessed with over time. And the more I looked at burlesque, the more I wanted to do something. I just wasn't sure what. I knew it would make a great film, but I just didn't want to make younger women. What do? You need depth. You need a lot of stories. You need layers. And when I discovered the Burlesque Hall of Fame in Las Vegas through a researcher, that's when I knew that this would make a really good documentary because I knew I could layer it with feminism, sexuality. I think really it is an alternate history of feminism that we're looking at through them.
So true. I want to get into a little bit of that too. But first, let me get these other voices around the table. Judith, you grew up here in Ontario.
I grew
How
up in-
did, as you say, a farm girl from Woodbridge,
Yes.
find her way into burlesque?
I left Woodbridge after a little brief stint in Yorkville in the 60s, and I went to the University of Oregon. I was accepted there, and I was doing my BA, and I ran out of money. And there was a job that came up, and it was topless go-go girls, no experience necessary, and you could work at night, so I could go to school during the day. Well, I'd already burnt my bra, but I didn't inhale. And and so it was like, someone said, well, you could go work there. And had been a radical feminist. And it was like, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. And then I went, wait a minute. Isn't this part of being a strong, independent woman, is choosing what to do? And so I worked as a go-go girl for about 6 months. And they sent me to Alaska, and I worked up there. And I came back down, and I said, okay, I'm going to become a stripper. Because the attraction was you got to travel. And I'm a girl from Woodbridge who always likes to travel. And you got to wear glamorous clothes. I found the diversity of the audience just amazing. I was totally interested in that.
And yet, did any of your fellow feminism students and bra burners, did any of them sort of push back at you and say,
Oh,
hello,
yeah.
feminists don't strip and dance for men?
Yes, and that happened, and that has continued to happen even now. Basically, what I said is that what wasn't feminist about owning your own body, that's all I could say. And I could go on for days about my thoughts on that one. But it was a chance for me to be independent and to own my own body. And I feel good about it, and it's made me a strong, independent woman.
Well, that's certainly showcased in the film. Camille, I want to get you first to sit a little closer to the microphone so we can hear you. And tell me about your story. How did you find your way to the burlesque stages of Las Vegas?
To the Burlesque Hall of Fame or to Burlesque
Well,
when I
no,
started?
back in the day when you started.
Well, I actually started on the Carnival on Amusements of America. I saw a girls' show. They were like standing out valiant, and the girls had beautiful gowns on. They were so beautiful, and I thought, I want to be one of those. And they made money, and that drew it to me. And when the circus closed, we went to Miami from there to Leroy Griffiths at the Gaiety Burlesque Theater. And that's actually where I started, the first theater I've ever worked.
What did that feel like to be expressing yourself on stage with your body?
I was very scared when I first started, but it feels different now because you kind of grow as a woman. It empowered me. It made me very strong.
How did it empower you?
I just felt very sure of like what I was doing, that it was right. I used to think like, man, this is messed up because I'm not doing like Mother says or this person says or that, it made me, I always wonder like what I'm doing, if that's all right. And going on stage, you just feel like, it's okay.
Judith, did you have, what were your acts like? I mean, what kinds of work were you doing? Because part of what's interesting about burlesque too is it's artistic. I mean, there's theater there. Tell me a bit
Right.
about what your acts were like.
I'm 5'2", and back in the day, I think I was a 32A with a deep breath. which was totally different than most strippers. And and I wanted to travel, and basically in my circuit, we traveled alone. And so I decided, and I was more comfortable with comedy. I used to say I took my clothes off and people laughed, and which was true. And that was my genre. So that was kind of my act. I do have traditional acts with the gloves and the stockings. I never felt like I was a particularly sexy kind of person. I think I dwell in my head more. I did things like, and thank God for McLean, Canadian content. I had a show where I had pink satin bosoms, and it was tassels, the only time I could ever twirl tassels. And I would take it off to McLean's. I always wanted to see old Dolly Parton's tits. I had a bathtub show where I had a baby's bathtub. Because in Canada, especially when you worked in Canada and working small towns and the beer parlors, what I liked about it was that it was a mixed audience. It wasn't all men. So I like to cater to the women, and the women appreciated the fact that I was funny. They told me I was cute. And it was it was comfortable because you were going to be in that town all week, and you had to walk down to the grocery store, and everyone knew who you were, right? So you kind of minded your P's and Q's, and you geared your act to that too. The other thing was too, in Canada, yes, a lot of the places were, there were good nightclubs, but you made your money on the beer parlors. And it would be, the stage would be 4 Coke cases and a piece of plywood with one green light. So we geared down our costumes because they would catch on nails, and and trying to pack around things when you're taking the train or the Greyhound bus. And being a true Canadian, I had everything packed in 2 hockey bags, and so it was a different experience for me. It was, I think, more. It was still stripping and burlesque, but it was. I always felt like I was an entertainer.
Camille, what about you? Did you have a favorite act?
Yes, I did.
What was that?
A tribute to Marquis de Sade.
And describe what that was like?
That was, I wore a body harness, a real body harness on stage. I opened to dominatrix. And when I took the harness off, then my last song, I would take someone from the audience and wrap the whip around his neck and lead him on his hands and knees walking around the stage. And to me, that was the most fun.
So you're both describing incredibly different kinds of acts.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what is the key to a good burlesque act? What are the key ingredients?
Well,
Entertainment.
Entertainment. It is performance art in a way. When I first started, I used to do fans, and I had birds. I did classic
And when you
performance.
say fans, you mean those large,
Those big
oversized
fans,
hand
yeah.
fans.
I do them now at the Burlesque Hall of Fame occasionally, but next time I perform. Last year when I performed, I did Love is a Battlefield with lighted nunchucks. So I have classic act I'll do one year, and then one of my acts that I like, Because when I was doing this, started doing those kind of acts, they were saying that was not burlesque, that was like performance art. I got a lot of grief for Marquis de Sade and the Black Widow.
Rama, I want to get you back in the conversation here because as the filmmaker, your film also explores the dark underside. I mean, we're talking about the sequins and the costumes and the entertainment here, but your film, in addition to showcasing that, really showcases the underside of this work because it is, after all, a job. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I felt that examining the history of burlesque and just talking about burlesque, it's not enough to just have it, all glitter and glamour, because yes, it was a lot of that, but it was also a lot of real world sweat, blood, and tears. And when I started talking to the women, I realized that there was a lot of sexism, there's a lot of racism, and I think the women are survivors. And in order to show them as survivors, you do need to show what they survived. And that took on and I think that's why it's multidimensional, and I wanted to show this world in all its true colors.
Well, and it's a world that I didn't really I feel like I took a real trip watching this film. Because these women were big stars on the Vegas Strip. In the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. So what's changed? What ended that burlesque heyday?
I'll address that. What ended the burlesque heyday, as one might say, was, first of all, there was the feminist movement. All of a sudden, women were allowed birth control, access to birth control. And so everyone became, and it was a sexual revolution. We also then, it was like the magazines were coming out, it was topless, it was bottomless. Everyone was exploring their sexuality. And so we sort of became old hat, with the pasties and the G-string. And so that's what changed it. And I want to say, when you talk about Vegas, there were a lot more people other than Vegas. Vegas was a small microcosm. There were strippers all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and you've described the circuit here in Canada. So it's interesting because your film sort of showcases how the art form, as we say, the heyday perhaps ended and changed. But the film also is about aging, I found, and celebrating women's bodies of all types. You've got the legends in your film from those, 60s heyday, returning to perform in the Hall of Fame. These women are in their 60s and 70s now, and they're doing these acts.
Yes.
I mean, Camille, you talk about you're still at it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about doing that kind of work, all about your body and your sex appeal, now that you're getting older?
Well, about 10 years ago when they contacted me, when I felt like somebody cares about burlesque, I was shocked, actually. They wanted me to perform, and I refused to perform for about 10 years. And then after my husband died, I did a tribute to him, to R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly. I did a fan dance, and I felt really good about it. And now that I've been performing almost every year at the Burlesque Hall of Fame.
And how does it feel to be doing that at your age now?
It feels like a phoenix rising. I love it. I'm so happy they woke up something inside of me that I thought was dead. I pulled all my yellow photos out of the closet. I pulled my costumes out. Of course, I couldn't get into any of my costumes, but I pulled them out to show them to Rama. It's just way cool, is all I can say.
So, I mean, and Judith, what about you? How do you feel? Does what you've done in your career, how does that make you feel about getting older?
I've earned my age. And as far as performing as an older woman with my wiggles and jiggles in various places and the wrinkles, and someone once said to me, the wrinkles are where the smiles have been, so obviously I've been smiling a lot. And I think one of the things that I really like is, because there's burlesque now, there's so many young women coming up that they actually, and young men, actually get to see. I say to them, I go, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to look like. Yes, you are going to have jiggles. Things are going to fall down. It's okay, because as your body ages, you do get smarter. And there's a wisdom that develops as your body ages, I hope.
What kind of reactions do you get when you perform now at this stage in your life?
Standing ovations.
Nice.
Yes, and I love it. It makes you feel, it's like getting a big shot in the arm. I can't describe it. When I performed after 25 years at Orleans and Las Vegas at the Burlesque Hall of Fame, I almost collapsed when I come off stage. I emotionally moved myself. I was so moved. Bambi the Mermaid grabbed me, my knees collapsed. I was crying. I was just so emotional.
What does it tap into?
Well, I did a performance for my late husband that I Believe I Can Fly, and when the curtain opens, I rise from the bottom of the stage, and I rise up slowly like that with the fans. And as I'm rising, something came over me, burlesque saved my life. I was like very depressed before they called me to perform again. And like I say, I wouldn't for like a long time, but when Eddie died, it changed something inside me. I changed. And burlesque has changed me again, or brought out what was sleeping. One of the two, you could describe it either way.
Burlesque is back. There's a younger generation now sort of taking a very keen interest. I wonder what you stars think of that.
I think it's great. I think I've always said that every young woman should work in a bar for 6 months at one point in their life. It's just a hell of an education. The burlesque, most of the kids that are doing the burlesque are hobbyists. So they're not working the 6 nights a week, but they're having fun. They get to play dress up. They get to wear false eyelashes. They get to dance out their fantasies of what, and to touch it and tap into that, their own powerful woman's sexuality, as well as learning how to entertain. They have a great community, a supportive community. And that's what it's about. And I love them. I love watching them. I do, and I have to say this, I do support my working strippers, the kids that are working in the clubs. They're the working kids. They make a lot of money. They travel. They have fun, but it's also hard work. And I am definitely there for them.
Rama, last word to you. What do you hope people get out of your film? There's so much, as I say, it's like a trip to a whole another place, for me anyway. And you touch on so much. What do you hope that people take away when they see your film at Hot Docs or anywhere else?
I think it's very simple. I think don't be afraid of getting older. And the inevitability of aging gets better if you have an edge, like the women. That's all. It's a lot of fun. Life is really fun.
Yeah.
So
it's all good.
Yeah, if people get that, I think I'll be happy.
Mission accomplished. I certainly felt a little better about my latest birthday after watching the film.
Where's my cake? I'll jump for
Gravity be damned.
Gravity be damned. I love it. So good to have you all here, and all the best.